Hey YouTubers, it's actually time to start doing some more work on the Sea Ray. I know you guys have been really hammering me on getting some projects up, but it's been kind of cold, and when the wind's blowing and you have to work outside, it ain't any fun to work on it. So it's going to be about 75-80 degrees today in mid-February, and I think it's time to get a little work done. So we got the boat in the driveway, and we're going to attempt to get the brakes taken care of. Since I bought the boat, I've been having problems with the brakes, the surge brakes. They just haven't worked right. So I ordered a new surge brake actuator for the front, and we're actually going to inspect the brakes, and if we need to go buy and install new drums and shoes and all that kind of stuff, we're going to do that. So let's go, let's get this done, and I'll teach you as we go. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to jack up the rear one side at a time to take off the rear tire, which has the drum brakes in it. And we're just going to use a simple 4-way to take it off. And if you'll notice, I have the truck up here. That's providing the weight to keep this boat from rolling downhill. Of course, this driveway is very steep. So what we're going to do is just get this up right now. Just put the jack underneath the rear axle. You want to jack it up to where it's just off the ground. And that's it. And actually, I made a mistake. You need to loosen the nuts first because the tire will spin. Let's hope I've got the right size. Here we go. All right, so those are loose. Now we'll take the lug nuts off the rest of the way. We got the tire off, and it was pretty simple. You loosen up the bolts, take the tire off, real easy. So now we got to get this drum off. Now, unlike car drums, this thing you have to remove a carrier bearing first in here, and this whole thing slides off. Well, to get the carrier bearing, you have to remove your bearing buddy if you have it. And the way you do that, and this sounds awful brutal, but you just take your rubber mallet and go back and forth several times, and it starts working its way loose, little by little, just like that. And that shows you your grease. Now, one thing I've noticed on this one is the grease seems a little burnt. So we're going to need to check that and see why it's got that color. We got some grinding going on too, so I'll have to figure out where that's coming from. But to get this carrier bearing off, all you do is you take, and there's a cotter pin right here. You unbend the cotter pin as straight as you can in this mess. Push it up, slide your cotter pin out, and then you take the carrier bearing off. Now, it should not be very tight. You notice I just barely pulled up and it came loose. Those things are not on super tight, otherwise you'll ruin your bearings. Yeah, the smell of this grease is pretty bad. And I think somebody used the wrong. It smells like axle grease, or I'm sorry, see how dark it looks? But the bearings are shot. Okay. We'll approach that a little bit later on. So there you go. It's out. Clean this up a little bit. Looks to be in pretty good shape. And our brake pads are actually in good use and still have a lot of life left in them. So we got to figure out why. And this isn't pitted at all. For some reason, this grease smells like gear grease, like gear oil coming out of a differential, which is kind of nasty. We are going to go up to our local trailer place and get some new bearings. I think I'm going to get bearings for everything. There's a lot of play in these, and we've obviously had a little bit of heat buildup on this axle. So I'm going to go ahead and replace the bearings in this one, and I think depending on cost, we'll go ahead and replace all the bearings all the way around. But this one was making a little bit of noise, and the bearing grease smells burnt, so that's a telltale sign that there's some heat buildup. And these bearings are not looking, you know, there's a lot of play in them. Basically, they rock back and forth, where the other one does not. And the other one, the grease was in perfect shape. So we're going to run up and get some stuff and come back and see if we can move on forward. But so far, the brake shoes look okay, and they'll continue to working for what they are right now. This is what I have after my shopping trip. We took the drum and everything up to the trailer place, and they sold me everything that I need, from my seals to the races, which are the bearing races that need to be pounded out. I'll show you how to do that here in a second. We have the outside races, and we have the new bearings, and the other bearings were in really bad shape, so we're good to go there. And then of course I got brake cylinders also. I wanted to make sure that we're 100%, so I went ahead and spent the money and got the replacements, and we'll take those off here in a second and get this hopefully done today. So I'm gonna get these things packed up, and I'll show you how to do it. You got to pack the bearings first, and we got a nifty little tool to do that. And then we'll start taking apart. We got penetrating oil on the wheel cylinders out there, just to soak into them, so that way we can get them off without shearing a bolt or something like that. So I'm gonna get the wheel packing apparatus ready, and I'll show you how that works. Okay, so basically this is what the piece is. It looks kind of like I think it looks like a dog collar that goes around when the dog has surgery. It keeps him from scratching his ears. But what it is you put your bearing in like this with the tapered side down, and this is my grease gun. And then there's a Zerk fitting on the end of this threaded piece here. And all you do is you screw this piece on the end here. And by the way, this is like $6 at AutoZone. And you want to make sure that it's as centered as possible on there. There we go. So as you can see inside of here, you see how the bearing sits. And you hook up your grease gun, and you simply pump. You see, there it goes. It just pumped it full. So now we take off the Zerk, and then we unscrew. And we have one packed bearing, 100%. So I'm gonna do the rest of these, and then we'll do the races, and I'll show you how to pound the races out after that. We are at the point now where we have to change the bearing races and the seals and everything out of the hub itself, and you've got to get everything out first. So this has a seal that runs around right here, and it's pretty much a one-time, you put it in and you're done. So we're going to take it out. Now, sometimes it's a little easier said than done, and we may have to stop videotaping so he can help me, but here we go. We're going to try it. There we go. Started coming out. We rotate around. Hit one more. Yeah. There we go. So we now have the bearing, or the what do you call it? The race, not the race, the seal, and the bearing that popped out. Now, of course, we've got new bearings, and so we're throwing that away, going away, and so now we have to sacrifice a few rags here to get all the nasty grease out of here. And this stuff is actually in very good shape. And it is a really gross job, guys. Yeah. And all I can say is you just stick your fingers in here and get dirty. Okay, clean your hands up. And you get a big screwdriver, which I'm going to go over here and get. And what you want to do is, these are races, which are basically what the bearings sit on. This is their face that the bearings ride upon. Well, we got to drive the old ones out and then put these in. The way you do it is I'm sliding the screwdriver down till I touch the inside lip of that inner race, and I'm just tapping. And that just fell out. So it is right here. And we can see that it's actually got some heat discoloration. So we'll just toss that aside. We'll flip it over and we tap the other side out. Now this one is going to hit the concrete. So, okay, so it just now touched it. So we're going to hold it up like this. Done deal. So it fell out. So now we're going to take and inspect the races and make sure they're okay, which they are in perfectly good shape. So we're going to take our new races. We're going to set these down here. Now this is kind of tricky because they're a press fit. So I got a little punch, which is right here. And then what we're going to do is you seat it in there pretty good with just your fingers, and you'll feel it. It kind of gives you some friction. And then what we'll do is we'll take the punches, a little tapping. What you're doing is you're working it down in the hole little by little. If you want to, you can go around a little bit here and there. But you're just basically walking it into the area. And then you hear it, the tone just changed. That means that we have completely set into our area. So we are 100% with that piece. So we'll flip it over and we will do the same thing on this side with our other race. And then right here, I'll just start. And always make sure that the taper kind of goes like this, because that's how your bearing fits in there, which I'll show you here in a second. But we're going to keep tapping. I can't do that anymore, so we take and put the little punch right on the edge, and we just keep working all the way down. Don't worry about messing these up with the awl, because of the punch, they are hardened steel. I can feel that it's all the way down. You can definitely tell it when it's there. So that's how easy that you change out the races. Super simple. Punch them out, tap them back in. Now we're going to put in the seal. This goes in the exact same way as the races do, is that you put it on here just as level as possible and you lightly tap it into place. And then you want it to seat against this back side. But first, you must put the bearing in. You drop it in, you want to take a little bit of grease and put it around in here. Really good. You know what, I'm gonna go get some more grease. Tasty. Very good. We'll drop the big bearing in here, just like that. Make sure he's nice and level. Wipe your nasty fingers off. And then we put the seal on. And that went in sideways. You want to make sure you try to get it. This one's going to give me hell. A lot of times these things go in perfectly. This is going to embarrass me. There we go. Once you get them started, you just slowly work around and don't hit it too hard, because you'll bend the aluminum that holds that little lip. Make sure that it's seated good. There we go.